When we imagine ancient hunters, we picture gleaming blades, arrowheads glinting in sunlight, or spears raised for the kill. But the real story of Native American hunting goes far beyond sharp edges. It's a story of quiet genius, of tools and technologies that turned the wilderness itself into a weapon. Surviving in the harshest environments, from icy tundras to scorching plains, required far more than brute strength. It demanded observation, innovation, and adaptability, and Native Americans mastered all three. They didn't just rely on blades. They built entire systems of tools that worked together to stalk, deceive, trap, and deliver food with precision. Before bows and arrows, before metal, there were clever designs that maximized every ounce of human energy. The atlatl, a spear thrower that amplified speed and power, gave hunters the range to take down massive Ice Age beasts. Traps and snares turned patience into productivity, silent killers that worked while the hunter rested. Decoys and animal calls blurred the line between human and nature, letting hunters vanish into their surroundings. Even simple items like hammerstones, grinding celts, and weighted plummets show a world of craftsmanship, built on trial, error, and deep understanding of physics and prey. What makes these tools truly astonishing isn't their age, it's their intelligence. They reveal a civilization that engineered with purpose, making every hunt sustainable and respectful. Every design, from the curve of a spear shaft to the texture of a decoy feather, carried generations of tested wisdom. So when we talk about Native American hunting, let's move beyond the arrowhead. Let's uncover the networks of tools that made survival not just possible, but artful. These weren't crude inventions, they were technologies, elegant, efficient, and thousands of years ahead of their time. Get ready to explore the forgotten arsenal of innovation that powered one of the most resourceful hunting traditions in human history. When most people think of Native American hunting, they picture a single image: the flint arrowhead. It's sharp, iconic, and easy to romanticize. But the truth is, the arrowhead is just the tip of a much larger story. Behind it stood a vast toolkit of designs, materials, and strategies, each one crafted for a specific purpose. Native American hunters were not simply weapon makers, they were engineers of adaptation. Their tools weren't made in workshops, but shaped by the environment itself. Carved from stone, bone, wood, sinew, and even river clay. Each item was a response to a problem: how to hunt silently, how to travel light, how to conserve energy, and how to bring food home safely in every season. What's astonishing is how these technologies developed in harmony with nature. No single tribe hunted in the same way. Arctic peoples built snow lances and bone-tipped harpoons. Woodland hunters perfected bows and decoys. Plains hunters combined speed, teamwork, and tools like the atlatl long before iron arrived. In short, Native American hunting wasn't defined by blades. It was defined by balance, creativity, and ecological precision. Not every hunt was a chase. Some of the most effective Native American hunting tools were traps and snares. Quiet, clever, and endlessly adaptable. While a spear or bow required direct confrontation, these tools worked invisibly, turning patience into power. Across the continent, tribes developed specialized designs suited to their environments. In dense forests, spring snares made from sinew or twisted fiber were set along animal paths. A single misstep by a rabbit or fox triggered the loop, tightening instantly. On the plains, pit traps were dug and camouflaged with grass, catching larger prey like bison calves or antelope. In icy northern lands, deadfall traps used weighted logs balanced on hair trigger supports to crush small game instantly. Fast, humane, and efficient. Setting traps wasn't guesswork. It was ecological intelligence. Hunters studied migration routes, wind direction, and feeding patterns. They disguised human scent with mud, smoke, or crushed herbs, and checked their traps daily to avoid waste or suffering. Trapping demanded deep observation, understanding not just the animal, but the rhythm of the land itself. In some tribes, traps were even communal. Families worked together to maintain lines of snares stretching for miles, ensuring everyone had food through the winter. For waterfowl and fish, woven reed traps and stone weirs were used to guide prey into narrow enclosures, a technique that anticipated modern fishing nets. These were not primitive inventions. They were mechanical masterpieces built from natural materials, proof that native hunters combined engineering, patience, and respect into every method of survival. While a blade showed strength, a snare showed strategy. And it's that strategy, silent, efficient, and deeply humane, that reveals the brilliance behind Native American hunting, long before modern technology existed. Before the bow and arrow dominated North America, the atlatl reigned supreme, a simple-looking yet revolutionary hunting tool that multiplied human strength through physics. The word atlatl, derived from the Nahuatl language, means spear thrower. But what it really represents is one of humanity's earliest examples of mechanical innovation. The atlatl was a carved shaft, often made from hardwood or antler, with a small hook or socket at one end to hold a dart or spear. When the hunter swung their arm, the atlatl acted as a lever, extending the throwing motion far beyond what the human body could achieve alone. This increased the spear's speed, power, and range dramatically, allowing hunters to strike targets over 100 feet away with lethal precision. In a world where close encounters with mammoth, bison, or elk could mean death, this tool changed everything. It gave hunters distance and dominance, letting them strike from safety while conserving energy. Archaeological finds show that atlatls were widely used across North America, with regional variations: bone weights for balance, leather grips for control, and carved designs for ceremony and identity. But the atlatl wasn't just a weapon. It was a symbol of mastery. To use one required training, timing, and a perfect sense of rhythm. A skilled hunter could hurl a dart faster than an Olympic javelin, watching it slice through the air with a whistle-like sound as it met its mark. It transformed hunting from a test of strength into a test of technique. Long before the bow's rise, the atlatl proved that technology didn't need metal to be advanced. It was precision engineering in its purest form, a simple lever that gave humanity command over giants. The most dangerous hunter isn't always the fastest. It's the one who can make their prey come to them. For Native American hunters, deception was as valuable a tool as any spear or bow. Decoys and animal calls became extensions of human intelligence, allowing hunters to blur the line between predator and prey. Decoys were carefully crafted from natural materials: reeds, bark, feathers, fur, and clay. For waterfowl hunting, hollowed cattails or carved wooden ducks were floated on ponds to create the illusion of a safe resting place. Deer decoys, made from hides stretched over willow frames, were worn on the back or held in front of the body, allowing the hunter to mimic a grazing animal and approach within striking range. But sound was an equally powerful weapon. Hunters created bone whistles, hollow reeds, and conch-shell trumpets that could imitate animal calls: the quack of a duck, the grunt of a deer, the distant howl of a wolf. These weren't random noises. They were precise replicas learned through generations of observation. A well-timed call could draw curious animals closer or calm them into a false sense of safety. Some tribes used dual deception, combining a decoy with coordinated calls between multiple hunters, creating a three-dimensional illusion that fooled even the wariest prey. It was an early form of psychological warfare, using instinct against itself. What's most impressive is that these tactics required empathy, not domination. Hunters had to think like the animal, move like it, and sound like it. It was hunting as art, intimate, patient, and deeply aware of nature's rhythms. In the wilderness, the greatest advantage wasn't brute force or sharp steel. It was the ability to become invisible. By becoming part of the world you hunted in. Long before metal blades or bows existed, Native Americans mastered the art of shaping stone. Not by chipping, but by grinding. These ground stone tools were the unsung heroes of prehistoric hunting, forming the backbone of survival long before the first arrow ever flew. Unlike flint-knapped points, ground stone tools were made by rubbing one stone against another for hours, sometimes days, to create smooth, durable edges. This technique produced an astonishing variety of tools: axes, celts, hammerstones, pestles, sinkers, and plummets. Each served a purpose in the larger cycle of hunting, processing, and survival. Axes and celts, handheld adze-like tools, were used to shape spear shafts, cut firewood, and process animal carcasses. Hammerstones cracked bones for marrow or chipped other stones into points. Sinkers and plummets, smooth, teardrop-shaped stones, added weight to fishing nets or atlatl darts, improving balance and penetration. Nothing was wasted. Every stone had a role. The grinding process itself shows deep understanding of material science. Hunters selected stones with just the right grain, fine enough to hold a polish, but strong enough to withstand impact. They lubricated grinding surfaces with water or animal fat to reduce cracking, and shaped handles with sinew bindings for secure grip. These were ergonomic tools thousands of years before the word existed. Even the worn surfaces of these stones tell a story: the rhythm of labor, the repetition of craft, and the patience of people who turned geology into precision engineering. Without these tools, no spear would fly true, no hide would be stretched, no food would be prepared. The blade may steal the spotlight, but the groundstone made the blade possible. In every sense, these were the tools behind the tools, the foundation of all hunting innovation. When stone alone wasn't enough, Native American hunters turned to a different kind of engineering, one that combined the flexibility of nature with the strength of design. Bone, antler, and sinew became essential materials in creating hunting tools that were lighter, stronger, and more adaptable than stone could ever be on its own. Bone and antler were shaped into harpoon points, spearheads, fish hooks, needles, and scrapers. Their natural toughness and elasticity made them perfect for tools that needed both sharpness and shock absorption. Antler tips, for example, were often attached to stone spearheads to prevent breakage on impact, a clever early form of composite weaponry. In colder climates, where stone was scarce or brittle, bone tools were the hunter's lifeline. Sinew, the fibrous tendon of animals, was equally revolutionary. When dried and twisted, sinew formed bowstrings, bindings, and lashings that were incredibly strong yet lightweight. It could be soaked to stretch and then tightened as it dried, locking blades or points firmly in place. Combined with hide glue, sinew bindings could hold components together through freezing cold and wet conditions that would destroy plant fibers. Even tool repair showcased ingenuity. Hunters traveling long distances carried small bone awls and extra sinew to fix broken points or rebind weapon shafts. These repairs could be done quickly by the fire, ensuring tools were always field-ready. Together, bone, antler, and sinew created a system of organic technology, materials that worked with the environment, not against it. Each piece represented harmony between hunter and prey, animals not just as food, but as partners in survival. In every hunt, the animal's strength quite literally lived on in the tools that sustained life. A full circle of purpose, respect, and innovation. Long before the discovery of metal smelting, Native Americans learned to forge strength from heat itself. Fire wasn't just for warmth or cooking. It was a tool for reshaping the very materials of the earth. Through controlled heating, quenching, and tempering, They created stone weapons and wooden shafts that were harder, straighter, and deadlier than anything nature provided raw. Flint, chert, and obsidian were often heat-treated to improve flake quality. By burying the stones beneath a layer of coals and heating them slowly, the crystal structure changed, making them smoother to work and sharper when knapped. The result? Arrowheads and blades that could slice cleanly through hide and bone, edges sharper than modern surgical steel. Fire also gave hunters power over wood. Shafts for arrows, atlatl darts, and spears were straightened by rolling them over coals, using gentle pressure to remove warps. The surface was lightly charred to harden it, creating a natural resin seal that prevented moisture and decay. This same method was used on digging sticks and wooden clubs, giving them the density of seasoned hardwood. Even adhesive technology came from flame. Pine resin and animal fat were melted and mixed into a powerful glue that bonded stone or bone points to wooden shafts. When cooled, the resin hardened into a waterproof seal, reinforced with sinew for extra hold, a prehistoric form of epoxy craftsmanship. Every spark in the fire served purpose: sharpening, hardening, sealing, preserving. It was the first forge, one made without metal, yet capable of producing tools of remarkable precision and strength. Fire, in Native American hands, wasn't destruction. It was creation, the silent craftsman behind every tool that conquered the wild. Among all Native American hunting tools, few represent balance and beauty like the bow and arrow. To modern eyes, it may seem simple, a curved stick and a string, but behind its design lies centuries of refinement and understanding of physics, tension, and nature's materials. The bow was not just a weapon, it was a masterpiece of engineering, born from observation and patience. Each bow began with a perfect piece of wood, often yew, ash, hickory, or Osage orange, chosen for its blend of flexibility and strength. Hunters seasoned the wood for months, sometimes bending it slowly over gentle heat to shape its curve. Then came the string, animal sinew, twisted and stretched to a perfect balance between elasticity and power. The combination turned muscle energy into stored potential, the first true energy converter of the ancient world. Arrows were no less sophisticated. Shafts were straightened by fire, fletched with feathers angled for spin stabilization, and tipped with stone, bone, or even hardened wood points designed for specific game. Each arrowhead type had a purpose: broadheads for large prey, barbed points for fish, and narrow tips for small game or armor penetration. The craftsmanship of a bow wasn't purely technical, it was spiritual. Many tribes blessed their bows before hunts, believing that respect for the materials brought success. A hunter didn't just carry a weapon, he carried a living bond between himself and the land. Even today, traditional bowyers study these ancient designs for inspiration. The native bow remains proof that perfection doesn't come from complexity. It comes from deep knowledge of natural balance and the mastery of simple materials. The tools may have changed, but the wisdom behind them endures. From the simplest stone hammer to the aerodynamic atlatl dart, every Native American hunting tool told a story, not just of survival, but of relationship. A relationship between humans and nature, innovation and respect, efficiency and balance. These designs weren't just for the hunt. They were blueprints for sustainable living. When we look at these ancient technologies today, we see something far more advanced than primitive craftsmanship. We see engineering born of empathy, designs that understood wind, weight, pressure, and motion without ever needing mathematics. We see a society that built everything with purpose, used every resource with care, and left almost nothing behind but lessons worth relearning. The truth is, our modern world, with all its tools and technology, often forgets the wisdom that came before it. These hunting innovations remind us that progress isn't about adding complexity, it's about achieving harmony. Every snare, bow, and blade was created with a mindset of balance, to take only what was needed, to respect every life taken, and to maintain the cycle of renewal. If this journey through ancient ingenuity inspired you, if you found respect for the hunters who shaped their world with their hands and minds, then help keep their legacy alive. Subscribe to this channel for more stories that uncover the intelligence of forgotten civilizations. Share this video to remind others that ancient doesn't mean obsolete. And join us next time as we explore the next chapter of human innovation, where survival meets art and history meets wisdom. Because sometimes the smartest tools ever made weren't powered by electricity. They were powered by understanding.